Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today we're going to be taking a look at the speed class and what we can do to try and rebalance them for future updates for the game to bring them more in line with some of the above average characters, especially since we got the X-Men. We've seen how good Netmarble is at balancing all of them, because whether they're Wolverine or whether they're Beast, all of the X-Men have great utility in this game, and we just want to see that kind of balancing and that kind of fairness and equality for all characters in the game. So we looked at Blast characters a couple of days ago, and your response was overwhelmingly positive. Thank you guys so much for showing love and support for that video. I'm glad you guys liked that series. So now we're going to jump over to the speed class, probably the most ridiculed of the four types in the game, and most of these characters, by no surprise, need work. We will be touching on characters that we missed before from the Blast class that had speed typing because of uniforms. We will be talking about Baby Groot, even though he's a combat type, and we will be talking about Kamala Khan. We will also be talking about Red Skull, even though he's originally a Blast character. So let's jump right in. The bottom, Fanjul. Now, similar to Hogan and Volstagg, Fanjul is cool because he has a summon in Fanjul's formation, and although I don't have him at 6 stars yet, I already know what Fanjul's problem is. All of his other skills are really boring. They're just attacks. There's a bit of movement, and that's it. It's like Elsa without any uniforms. It's a sad and sorry state. So I think they need to give Fanjul a little bit more love. They need to throw like a stun, they throw an iframe, they need to throw some kind of buff or debuff onto one of his skills just to bring out some of his unique flavor. And I think what they could do, given that he's such an expert swordsman and fencer, is they could give him some ignore dodge. That would go thematically well with the character, and it would synergize not only with his guaranteed dodge, which would make him harder to hit, but also with his 4-star passive, because it increases his damage, but then if he's facing an opponent with lots of dodge, he will miss. So if he had some ignore dodge, maybe as a buff from one of his skills, or just as a passive effect with his tier 2, he would be probably a lot more usable in the speed class, and he would probably counter a lot of speed characters who have that natural high dodge rate. Next up on the list, Hellcat actually exemplifies the 3 most glaring weaknesses of the speed class, and that is a 4-star passive that is basically useless, a terrible, if not totally useless, leadership, and incomplete iframes. I cannot think of a class, whether it's Blast, Combat, or Universal, that has more characters with more incomplete iframes. What I mean is the beginning of the iframe or the end of the iframe or somewhere in the middle is an iframe, but other parts of it aren't, so you get hit while you're casting the skill. A very good example of this would be Hyperion's 4th skill. He gets hit during the iframe. It just doesn't make any sense. Another great example from the speed class, some of Hellcat's iframes, some of Green Goblin's iframes for that matter. So I think all they need to do to make Patsy Cline better is improve her passive, because this bleed is actually just one of the worst things in the game. They need to just get rid of it or change the way that bleed works, and I've talked about it in previous videos. They need to change her leadership or make it better, because all speed is basically useless. And then they need to just clean up her iframes. Just make them full iframes or give her something else. But it can't be unreliable, partial, half, you know, give me some, take some iframes. This isn't take a penny, leave a penny at the Quickie Mart, alright? Misty Knight, on the other hand, very interesting character, cold damage leadership, which is fantastic. She's got guaranteed dodge and more cold damage on her tier 2, but she only has basically one skill that does cold damage consistently and reasonably. The other one doesn't do enough cold damage, and part of the damage is actually just a dot damage, which doesn't apply to world bosses. So they need to take her 5th skill, Bionic Bomber, which has cold effects in it and cold animations, and just change that from physical to chill. They should also change Frost Wave from physical to chill or cold damage. Why would you call the skill Frost Wave and make it physical? Okay, Netmarble, if you're gonna give her a cold leadership, at least make most of her skills deal that damage. Red Hulk does that, Satana does that. Why is Misty Knight any different? In addition, she has the typical speed character 4-star passive is shit ability. 1.5% all speed actually hurts me to say out loud, and somehow that got through QA. This obviously should change. I think Interrogation Expert would be something good like maybe Ignore Defense or Ignore Dodge, or maybe it would have some kind of debuff potential, and that would make her potentially quite meta if she had something like when she's debuffed, remove the debuff and give her debuff immunity for like 10 seconds. Speaking of characters who have that on a 4-star passive, Sin. One of the only redeeming qualities of this character is her badass 4-star passive. Netmarble, take notes. This is how Netmarble makes good 4-star passives for speed characters. This is fantastic. Unfortunately, Sin is terrible because her tier 2 is a pile of crap. This needs to change. They should probably double her guaranteed dodge and throw in some guaranteed crit rate because she's known for dealing spike damage. In addition, they should make her 4th skill, Rocket Launcher, which is, you guessed it, a partial iframe, into a full iframe. Enough with these partial iframes. You're just gimping the character. Miles Morales, top to bottom, is a great character. I don't think there's anything that needs to be changed about him. However, leadership, not so great. And his 4-star passive, all speed 7%, could be, could get something better, could be something a little bit more thematically sound. But overall, I think the character is strong, especially with his tier 2 passive. Electra, after she got her upgrades, much better character. They finally gave her a 4-star passive that's meaningful. She has lots of iframes, but she still has some that are partial, but I can overlook that because 2 and 5 are full iframes. However, all speed leadership. Throw that trash out. Give her something useful. Give her guaranteed dodge 10%. I don't care. Give her 12% chance to be immune. Half of Rogue's leadership. I don't care. You've shown that you can come up with unique leaderships. Why not give that, throw a bone to some of your boneless, spineless speed types? Speaking of characters who do nothing, Agent 13, formerly known as Sharon Carter. Her damage is a joke. I think Sharon Rogers does more damage in one skill than Sharon Carter does with all of her skills multiplied by 5 put all together. However, she has immunity, she has iframes, pretty cool. Her tier 2 passive, not bad with 28 and 20, but not enough. Take Aim should probably also give her Ignore Dodge if you're asking me. And here we go, guys. 4-star passive, 3% crit rate. Can't make this shit up. That's disgustingly bad. There are some characters who have more crit rate on their ability than she has on her 4-star passive. Okay, I've said enough. Winter Soldier, who you can't see because of my lovely face, is a great character. Top to bottom, I like his skills, I like his uniform. He's even got a decent 4-star passive. 5% health, yeah, I'll take that. I won't take this though. 45% chance when attacking, so not even half the time, he gets a 1-second buff on a 10-second cooldown. Hey, that's great, thanks, Netmarble. I invested tier 2 for this character, and their tier 2 will trigger 50% of the time for 1 out of 11 seconds. Wow. 8%. 8% of the time that his tier 2 is active, it's active. 45% of the time, it works. 8% of the time. It should be 10 seconds of Ignore Defense and 10 seconds of Ignore Dodge on a 12-second cooldown or a 15-second cooldown. 1 second is actually a joke. Not even Korean players can make use of this tier 2 passive. Also, his tier 2 passive could perhaps buff his 4-star passive. Instead of 5%, it could be 15%. Who knows? Maybe if they want to make this character reasonable. On the other hand, Falcon, terrible 4-star passive. 1.5% all speed. What the hell were you thinking? Additionally, his tier 2 passive, 5 seconds on a 15-second cooldown. Again, this is not enough. This is bad. Again, 6% dodge rate. He's got the trifecta, boys. And also, incomplete iframes on his 5th skill. Clean up the iframes, give him a better 4-star passive, and please, Red Wing, okay? Classic sidekick for Falcon. Bring him into the game. I don't care if you have to give him a new uniform, alright? Sam Wilson deserves it. Give it to him. Mockingbird. I want to mock. Okay, the joke's there. Skill that only buffs. Junk. Terrible passive. Holy shit, guys. 5% chance when attacking. 5% crit rate. That's not even guaranteed crit rate. Wolverine has more crit rate in 1/10 of one claw than this girl does in her whole fucking stat line. Hey, another useless speed leadership. Change this shit, Netmarble. Mockingbird needs more damage, absolutely, more iframes, and she needs to either have a third skill that does something or a 4-star passive that does something, because right now you've given her 2 of nothings, which equals basically a nothing. Hawkeye. Wow, Kate Bishop's sad mentor. Refocus Shot looks like a good tier 2 passive, but it's really not, because it has a 60% chance to trigger. It only lasts for 5 seconds, and it doesn't matter if all of his cooldowns get reset, because he still deals mediocre damage and can't defend himself because he barely has any iframes. Trick Shot has him jump up in the air, and it's not an iframe. Give the man some iframes, boost his damage, take away stupid 4-star passives like this, increases range by 2 meters. If you guys read the patch notes for the rebalanced Captain America, they basically did that. Increase attack range, increase skill range. They gave Captain America Hawkeye's 4-star passive for free. Where is Clint's rebalancing? I know I said a lot of bad things about Clint for Shadowlands, but please, 12% crit damage? Come on, you can double that. I promise you can double that. It really won't break the character, I promise. Please fix him. Green Goblin's actually a great character, even with his controversial uniform. Kind of a bad passive when there's no other poison damage in the game, basically. I'm not talking about Hulk's uniform right now. Aerial charge needs to be a full iframe, that's absolutely without a doubt. And then again, poison resist when there's basically no other poison damage dealing characters is kind of shit. Make this better, or give us Kraven and Scorpion and give them poison damage. I'll take either one of those. On to Daredevil. The Devil of Hell's Kitchen, my ass. Hey guys, look, it's a shitty 4-star passive on a speed character. 3% dodge rate. Again, some characters have... Oh, look! He actually has as much dodge on his ability as on his 4-star passive. That's absolutely pathetic. I do really like, and I think it's very unique, what they gave for Daredevil as far as his leadership goes. When you dodge, you get an increased crit rate and crit damage. I think that 12% could go up to, let's say, 24 or 36%. It's really not a big deal because it's on a 30-second cooldown. It's really not going to trigger that many times. In addition, Sonar Sense is good, but it's not enough. Even with that 42%, Daredevil still deals mediocre damage. So I would like to see them change his 4-star passive, maybe give him something along the lines of when he takes damage, he does more damage, or as he takes damage, his guaranteed dodge goes up, because we know that he likes to brawl and he kind of doesn't give up. He has a lot of resilience, so if they could reflect that in the character, that would be nice. Red Skull is up next, and wow, guys, look, a shitty 4-star passive on a speed character. He's not even a speed character and they managed to screw this one up. Legion of Hydra, maxed out, gives 40% of his shitty stats to his summons. 40%. 40%. This needs to be doubled or tripled. His, leadership is fine. His tier 2 passive is fine, but he needs some buffs on his skills, especially that 5th skill, because it looks badass, but it functions terribly. Gamora, great character. Great character. If you want something useless, great character. If you want something totally useless, awesome character. If you want something that exemplifies all of what's wrong with the motorcycle class, this is a great character. She is the poster child for why the speed class is at the bottom of the playground. She's the gravel that you walk on, and sometimes you kind of just don't even want to get your shoes dirty. All right? Black Cat, great character, very interesting 4-star passive, but 5% chance on a 60-second cooldown. That is a joke. Don't do that. That is bad. Make it, 30 seconds, make it 50%. I don't know, but 5% and 60 seconds is a slap in the face. This is basically never going to trigger, and the one time it does trigger, it's not even going to make the highlight reels. Also, partial iframes, guilty. Also, terrible speed leadership. Double guilty. Please, buff this. Blade. Not Blade, because he's a combat character. Not Black Cat again. Karnak, great character, lots of good damage at tier 2, especially with his pressure point detection, and Deadly Blow is actually a great 4-star passive for a speed character. Bad leadership, no survivability. Give him Rogue's leadership and you have my vote for the next Korean presidency, I promise. Wong, great character, Got some immunity, has a very good leadership that is interesting for speed characters because we usually only see that on combat characters. And his tier 2 is great, but he still lacks some damage, mostly because his skills animate for a very long time. It's lots of hits, 4, 5, 6, 7 hits. It just takes too long, so his DPS just, you know, plummets like Enron stocks. So just shorten up his animations, slap a new uniform on him, send him to Electra's dojo. I don't really care. He needs a damage bump. And a door slam, great. SpiderGwen, great character, interesting tier 2 with the buff and the guaranteed dodge. He's got that leadership though. That's so bad, dude. That is so bad. That's even worse than Iron Man's leadership, the 24%. That's 24% flat all the time. This is 30% for 10 seconds when you dodge. If you don't dodge, you're screwed. Also, 5% dodge. That's a slap in the face. That's like Miles Morales. Could change that. SpiderMan, great character, good 4-star passive, bad leadership, not enough damage. Okay, 2-second increase to the duration of webs, 25% guaranteed dodge. He also needs skill and bonus damage. The DPS needs to go up for our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. The last bunch of characters that I have tier 2 are all very good and well balanced. I don't think there are any problems with any of them except my first tier 2, AntMan. Damage still a little bit low. I think they could bump up his damage just a tiny bit, and they could improve some of the targeting on things like speeding bullet and pin punch, because they tend to miss the target and have Ant-Man punching air and begging for Anthony to come back. It would be really nice if they could improve the damage and the tracking on those skills. They could also improve flying rush. It gets interrupted a lot, just like I get interrupted by my neighbors slamming doors. And you guessed it, he's got a terrible leadership. But bump up the damage, improve the iframe and tracking on the skills, and leadership. Lastly, Yondu, give the man a uniform. He's Mary Poppins, y'all. Alright? The resident daddy of Future Fight has not too much wrong with him, except leadership. There are characters in this game, like Kate Bishop, who give more crit rate to their team. Why there's a character in the same class as Yondu that gives a better leadership than him, objectively better, is totally beyond me. I understand that she was trained by Clint, but Clint sucks. Okay, 7.8%. We hop on over to Kate Bishop and we go to her leadership, and guess what, boys? It's 15%. It's almost double. And the way that Netmarble rounds things, it might as well be double. So once they change these on the speed class, I would be much happier with it as a whole. But right now, I think the speed class is the biggest offender in Marvel Future Fight, and it's the class that needs the most love, and it's the one that has the most broken characters. That's why this is going to be the longest video of the 4. I can guarantee it, and I haven't even recorded the one for Combat or Universal yet. And I already know, I can feel it in my bones, it's knocking at my window. So let me know what you guys think of the speed class. Let me know what you think of my recommendations for these characters. I know there was a lot, but the focus is mainly on the iframes, the leaderships, and the 4-star passives. Those are the main 3 offenders. Before we go, guys, I want to leave you with a question. I recently tier 2'd both Squirrel Girl and Silk on the live streams. If you weren't there to check it out, I'm sorry, but it is pretty awesome that I got 2 new tier 2 characters. And I want to ask you guys something. Which character would you rather I do a review on first? So hit me up in the comments. Let me know if you want me to see a Silk review or a Squirrel Girl review, and I'll try not to butcher my outros like this anymore. Of course, guys, as always, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.